Imagine waking up on a freezing February morning, opening your front door to clear away the snow, and finding that something had spent the night walking across your roof. Not a cat, not a bird, and certainly not a person. No, this was something with a single, cloven hoof that walked like a human on two legs, and it didn't care about things like gravity or solid walls. This isn't the plot of a folk horror movie. This happened. On the night of February 8, 1855, South Devon, England, became the stage for one of the most unsettling cold cases in history, the Devil's Footprints. The night the world froze. The winter of 1855 was brutal. England was gripped by a great frost, and the small towns along the Exe estuary, places like Exmouth, Dawlish and Teignmouth, were buried under heavy snowfall. When the sun rose on the 9th, the locals expected a pristine white blanket. Instead, they found a trail. It started simply enough, but as people began to follow it, the casual curiosity turned into genuine, bone-chilling dread. These weren't just random marks. They were distinct, horseshoe-shaped prints, roughly 4 inches long and 3 inches wide. But here's the kicker. They were unipeds. They followed a perfectly straight line, one foot directly in front of the other, suggesting a creature that walked upright. 100 miles of impossible. As the morning progressed, reports started flooding in from across the county. This wasn't a local prank. The tracks were everywhere. The scale was what truly defied logic. The trail stretched for nearly 100 miles. For a single creature to cover that distance in an 8-hour window of darkness, it would have had to move at a consistent clip of about 12 miles per hour, through deep snow, in the dark, across rugged terrain. But it was the pathway that sent people running for their Bibles. These tracks didn't navigate around obstacles. They went through them. The walls. The prints would lead up to a 14-foot brick wall, and continue on the other side as if the wall didn't exist. There were no marks of scrambling or climbing. Just a leap that no known animal could make. The rooftops. In several towns, the tracks were found on the snow-covered thatch of cottages. They would lead up to the gutter, across the peak of the roof, and down the other side. The haystacks. Most famously, a trail was found leading directly into a solid haystack. There was no exit hole, yet the prints reappeared on the exact opposite side, continuing their straight-line march. Panic in the pews. You have to remember the context. 1855 was a time of deep superstition. By midday, the devil was the only explanation anyone wanted to hear. Villagers armed themselves with pitchforks and shotguns, following the tracks into the woods, but the trails often ended abruptly in the middle of open fields or at the edge of the water, leaving no clue where the beast had gone. The local clergy didn't help matters. Some ministers took to the pulpit the following Sunday to declare that the footprints were indeed a warning from Satan himself, a literal walking of the earth, to reclaim the wicked. The fear was so palpable that many people refused to leave their homes after dark for months. The rational explanations. Of course, the scientific minds of the Victorian era tried to debunk the supernatural. Over the years, several theories have been floated, though each has its own, moment. The Great Balloon Escape. One theory suggests an experimental weather balloon from the Devonport dockyard broke loose, trailing a mooring shackle that hopped along the ground. The problem? A dragging chain wouldn't make a cloven hoof shape, nor would it travel 100 miles in a straight line through heavy wind without getting snagged. Hopping mice. Naturalists suggested that the wood mouse leaps in a way that, when snow melts and refreezes, can look like a hoof print. The problem? Mice don't jump over 14-foot walls or travel 100 miles in one night. The badger theory. Some blamed a hungry badger or an otter. The problem? These are four-legged animals with claws. They don't walk in a single-file line of shoes. The haunting legacy. To this day, the 1855 event remains the gold standard for unexplained phenomena. It wasn't just one witness. It was thousands. It wasn't just one town. It was half a county. The footprints were never seen again in that magnitude, but the story has lived on in the DNA of Devon. It reminds us that even in a world we think we've mapped and categorized, there's still room for the impossible to walk right over our heads while we sleep. Was it a mass hallucination? An elaborate, impossible prank? Or did something truly ancient and other decide to take a midnight stroll through the English countryside? If you ever find yourself in Devon on a snowy February night, you might find yourself doing what the locals still do, checking the roof. If you enjoyed this mystery, don't forget to like and subscribe for more spooky tales.